Hello, kiddos. This is the first video of U.S. history for your Georgia high school. If you're studying for the milestone, you're studying for a test in Georgia, you should be able to use this and be able to know what you need to know for your exam. This is the colonial era, and this is Mr. Scott from Paulding County High School. Let's get started. Standard 1, we're going to compare and contrast the developments of English settlements and colonization during the 17th century. These are key terms that you should know that would definitely be found on any exam covering Standard 1 in the GSE standards. This is a map, shows the exploration of different European countries that are coming into America. As you can see, the English are coming to North America, specifically into what is present-day Virginia. What's the purpose of the following political cartoon? As you see, you have the mother country, which is Britain, being served by its colonies. The purpose of settling these colonies was to be served gold and silver, foodstuff, and raw materials in order to make a profit. Mercantilism. Mercantilism was the economic system that we'll talk about a little bit later that the English used in order to get resources from their colonies and to profit off of those resources. Mercantilism was an economic concept where colonies served only to provide raw materials to English businesses. Then English businesses would use those raw materials to make finished goods and then sell the finished goods back to the colonists. Basically, they're creating a market in the colonies, taking their resources, turning them into finished products, and using the colonies that they've established as a market and a source of resources. As you see right here, the Navigation Act, in order to control the trade, the English are going to enforce the Navigation Act to control who the colonies are trading with. We want to make sure that the colonists had beneficial trade for the English, so they would make sure, as you see the man standing on England, that they tax the colonists. The consequence of mercantilism is that the English in this business became stronger and wealthier, and the colonists became weaker and poorer. This trade is part of a bigger trade, which is known as the transatlantic trade. This is trade that's happening between the three continents of North America, Europe, and Africa. And we'll talk about a little bit later what's coming from Africa. But for North America, it's coming what? Raw materials. You guessed it. And from Europe, it's coming what? That's right. Manufactured goods. The goods they're going to sell back to the colonists to make a profit. The transatlantic trade is part of this mercantilism that Britain is using to control the colonists and control the trade from the colonists in order to have a beneficial trade with the colonists in order to make money. This transatlantic trade is also known as the triangular trade, as you see the shape of a triangle. Transatlantic in that they're going across the Atlantic Ocean in order to make trade. And as we talked about earlier, the British would make sure that the colonists would come into their ports in order to trade things. And if they wanted to trade with others, they would make sure that they tax the colonists in order to benefit off of that trade. As you see the picture on the left, you have an advertisement to try to convince people to come to Virginia. The British at the beginning was having problems trying to get people to actually come to the New World because a lot of people thought that maybe there was sea monsters and maybe if we went over there, you never would come back, or the risk of coming to the Americas, they wanted to make people think that it was worth the reward. So you see on the flyer that they're advertising that, hey, if you come to Virginia, you're going to be able to plant and grow things, and it's going to be very, very fruitful. Many people whose lives was terrible in England would take this risk, knowing that maybe there's a better life on the other side of the Atlantic. This picture here is a picture of them growing things in America, and eventually they're going to need a source of labor. And what do you see that they're going to use as a source of labor? Absolutely right. African slaves. They're going to bring African slaves in from Africa in order to be a source of labor. The southern colonies are Virginia, Maryland, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. Georgia was actually used as a penal colony in order to bring people who was punished for committing some kind of crime in England. The reasons for establishment of most of these southern colonies are going to be for gold and other financial reasons. And in places where they didn't find gold, they found other resources they could use in order to make money. The impact of location in the South, they had rich soil, longer growing seasons, which is going to allow them to grow things, use agriculture in order to make a profit. You just need to know the key is that the southern colonies wanted to make a profit. Relations with the Indians, and because the southern colonies needed land to grow things, they had to get rid of the Native Americans in order to grow more things, in order to make a profit. So you see the economic development is that they wanted to grow things like rice, indigo, cotton, and tobacco. Those were considered to be cash crops. As you see review questions, you can stop the video now and try to answer those review questions based off the things that you learned. And we will move on to the New England colonies. As you see, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island being the New England colonies. And on the right, you see an image of the reasons that they were established. You see the guy praying. It's obviously a symbol that these New England colonies was established for religious reasons. What does this map tell you about the southern and the New England colonies? Absolutely right. The New England colonies are less fertile, so they're not going to be doing as much agricultural growth as the southern colonies. The New England colonies are going to include Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. The reasons for establishment: the Puritans are going to settle the colonies for religious reasons. They want religious freedom from the Anglican Church in England that did not tolerate their beliefs. The impact of locations, as we just looked at on the map, they did not have very, very fertile soil, and they didn't have long growing seasons. Therefore, they're going to be more into trading, shipbuilding, and fishing. Their relations with the natives. You had natives in New England, and at first you know about the first Thanksgiving. Their relations with the natives were at first peaceful, but then it's going to become very, very hostile. There's going to be an increase in conflict between Native Americans in New England because of ownership of land. Native Americans did not believe in land ownership, while the colonies believed that they owned the land and that the Native Americans should not be on their land. As we talked about, the economy was based off trade, small business, fishing, and shipbuilding. And the last set of colonies we're going to talk about are the middle colonies. These colonies are New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And as you see, the middle colonies, there's a blend of fertile soil and least fertile soil. So there's going to be a blend of economic development. Compare and contrast the Middle Atlantic colonies, New England colonies, and the Southern colonies based on the following map. This map on the left shows you the different groups that are settling in the different colonies. And as you see in the middle colonies, the region is very, very diverse. That's one thing they would definitely ask you on a test. Which set of colonies was most diverse? You would definitely need to know that the Mid-Atlantic colonies were the most diverse colonies. As we talked about earlier, their reasons for establishment is also going to be a combination of the reasons that the Southern and the New England colonies were established. They were established for religious tolerance and for economic reasons. The impact of locations, they're going to be doing agriculture as well as trading and shipbuilding. The Mid-Atlantic colonies and their relations with the natives. The Native Americans are going to trade with these people in the Mid-Atlantic colonies. They're also not going to be a target of war. And often cases, these Mid-Atlantic colonies are going to make treaties with the Native Americans that's much more friendlier than treaties made with the Southern colonies or the New England colonies. The economic development, as we said, is very diverse. Trade and agriculture was the basis of their economy. And how does this chart show the impact of immigrants coming to the Americas. It's going to make the Americas very, very diverse. As you see on the right, the population was very diverse, with most people coming from England. However, unlike the settlements of the Spanish and the French, the English were willing to let a diversity of different people of different religions settle in their land. Remember, the most important thing for the English was to make money. European cultural diversity. You had a lot of immigrants coming from Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands, and Germany. A lot of these people were Catholic, Protestants, some Jewish, and other Quakers, especially in Pennsylvania. The Mid-Atlantic colonies was the most diverse colonies because there were no dominant culture. And once again, you see the review questions. You can stop the video and try to answer those questions based off what you learned. Thanks for joining us, kiddos. We will be back to cover standard number 2, so look out for the next video.